Casually Dressed and Deep in Conversation with me, Greg Chalmers. CDDC is sponsored by Pizza Daddy, Lanarkshire's #1 American-style pizza parlour. To stay up to date on new flavours and promotions, then get connected on the socials. The Instagram handle is @RealPizzaDaddy and the website is www.thepizzadaddy.co.uk. To see what we're getting up to here at Casually Dressed, then you can find us on Instagram with the handle @CDDC Podcast, and on Twitter it is @PodcastCDDC. Also, as you're watching this on YouTube, then please hit those like and subscribe buttons. This morning, I'm talking to the founder of Headstrong, Brian Costello. How are you, Brian?
I am very well, sir. Lovely to see you. Looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, totally. How are you dealing with the lockdown, mate?
Well, it's all a bit weird.
It's a bit bizarre.
I think that is just one way to say it. It's all a bit weird. Yeah, it's been a bit bizarre. I know that a lot of people keep on talking about it being like living in a movie. Like I think there's a certain president of a certain big country has been making us feel as if we're living in a movie as well. But yeah, so I keep on comparing it to the week between Christmas and New Year, whenever it was just a wee bit odd.
That's like really close, man.
It's like that, but turned right up. It's like that, but even more mental. You don't know what to do with yourself. You're like, am I on holiday? No, I'm not on holiday. Well, when am I back to work? No, but then get this big party in coming up. So it's all a bit strange.
Yeah, I know. But that's a really good likeness actually. that really is. So, Brian, basically, see for anyone who's watching this who doesn't know what NLP is, can you give us a kind of an overview and explain it a wee bit for us?
Yeah, okay, settle back. I do a 7-day course on this, mate, so just sit back and go, right.
I'm sorry, I'm comfy, let's do it.
So NLP is a really interesting thing. I think it stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming, and I'm not going to give you a full history lesson, even with where I'm going here, I promise. But it was a thing that was found. To say it was even found in the 70s is a bit weird because that makes it sound like a thing. But actually, what NLP was a way of understanding how people do brilliant stuff. So how people do the things that they do. So the guys that kind of created it, if you like, they modelled people like a guy called Milton Erickson, who's like if you're in the scene, he is like the granddaddy of modern hypnotherapy. Okay. So they went and they watched him and saw what he did, and basically what they did was they started to like almost code it. So if you want to work like Milton Erickson, do this, and this, and they turned it into these models basically that you can pick up. I mean, so as an example, one of the most famous examples of how NLP works is phobias. Okay. And it's how it kind of came famous. It's not something I do very much of anymore, but it was at the start of my career. So fears of spiders, fear of flying, I've got to admit, still one of my favourite things to work on. I love that because the transformation is so quick, and people are like, holy shit, I'm in Mallorca. I'm like, well done. I call them the runway text. It's like, I'm like, as soon as you land, I want a text. It's like, I fell asleep. But anyway, things like that. And I could literally train you in the next probably half hour on how to cure any phobia. Like I'm not cure it, but how to at least turn the volume down on anybody. And that was the joy of NLP. It was like they watched what people did, how it worked, put it into a model that's dead easy then to train other people. And now we are basically 40 years down the line of that. So that's why I say that NLP is not a thing. Mm-hmm. People think it's a thing, like it's somebody created it, but it's not. It was more a way of taking what other people were doing brilliantly and then turning it into a way that you could then teach other people it really, really fast. So it's amazing, and to give a wee bit more of maybe an everyman view and why it would help someone in the street. I mean, the phobias thing can change someone's life, but it is a way of understanding why you do what you do. Why do I do that mental thing? Like, why do I do that? And a way of understanding. So as I say to people all the time, what I understand and what I like to do is I help people understand the mechanics of their mind. So rather than like being a counsellor who sits here and goes, okay, Greg, tell me what's happening. What's going on now? And then I just sit at you and I nod at you and I'm like, all right, okay, oh, right, aye, okay. And you cry and you're like, and then this happened when I was 7 and it was just like, it's horrible. And it was this. We don't do that. That's not how NLP works. What we do is we understand, as I say, the mechanics of your mind. So why does your mind like make you anxious? Like, anxiety is probably the biggest thing we work on now. Why does it make you anxious? What is it that's happening in your head? This will probably come out during our conversation, but what is it that's happening in your head? So this is a very long answer, but I'm hoping it's explaining it.
Yeah.
I think the best example that I have is in terms of how it helps everybody is if you were to say something like, you know, or somebody was to say to me, oh, my grandpa died when I was 12 and nothing was ever the same again. Somebody who does what I call one of the crying therapies would sit here and go, tell me about your grandpa. Was he a nice man? What was he like? And how upset were you? And what was it? And they'd probe into this story that would just be like, oh my God, and then this happened and it was horrible and my gran was really upset. And whereas I'd say, okay, so your grandpa died, got that. How was nothing ever the same again? And how is it still the same now? Like, what is it you do inside your head? And if that person said something like, well, I decided that it was almost like in my head, I thought, well, I'm never going to love anybody and let anybody in again because it just hurt so badly. That's what I then go, right, so you're still doing that now. And that's why you can't find yourself a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a husband, is because actually you're so scared that somebody might leave you. And then you'll go, I suppose I am. And then at that point, we can actually let it go. That was a very long answer, but I hope that explains how it works.
So does... So obviously the it has developed over the years, like you were saying.
Absolutely. So
what do you think has made it kind of come to the sort of the forefront now?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot. I mean, people are so much more aware of mental health and, like you said, anxiety, depression, and stuff like that. So I take it we were talking off camera earlier on and saying about how you're getting into schools and all that kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
So is that to combat these problems developing, into like starting off with a younger person and developing into an adult?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking about myself now to see if I've got a prop. But I don't know if I've got one left, unfortunately. I'm now coming off camera to try and look for a prop off camera, which isn't the best. Oh, I do, I've got one left. Right, excellent. I'll show you what this thing is in a wee second. But if you ever get to meet, as if any of your listeners have ever been to the Girls' Day Out, you know, so yes. If any of the lassies and the women that are listening have ever been to Girls' Day Out, they might go, oh my God, it's that guy, as soon as I put it. But I think it's come to the forefront because people are now sick of the crying therapies. Okay. People are sick of greeting, and young people especially won't. They live in a world where if I want it, I get it.
Yeah.
So the thought of doing, I was speaking to a woman the other day whose sister did 5 years of counselling, and still says that, well, I'm still messed up, you know, I've still got stuff in my head, but it's really helped me. And I'm like, 5 years? Genuinely, people see me for about 4 or 5 sessions. Like in total, they'd see me for about 4 or 5 sessions. And that can be really big stuff. Not everybody can fit that. Some people are longer, but for the most part, that's what it is. And when you say about the schools, it's about going in, because I think that it's all about understanding. It's all about understanding how your mind works, and we never get taught that. So when you're growing up, what happens with your mental health is, mental health really isn't discussed, but what is discussed all the time is your physical health. So if you get a toothache, from you being a wee guy and me being a wee guy, we were taught if we get a toothache, or if we feel sick, or if we don't feel well, or if we do this, then what we do is we go to the doctor, or we go to the dentist. The dentist will do something in your mouth and will fix it, or the doctor will give you a pill and you go away, and they give you some medicine and you go away. So what happens is then as we get older, nobody ever teaches us about our mental health. In fact, we're told the total opposite. So if I imagine like wee 8-year-old Greg kicking about the streets of like Helensburgh or wherever, or Cardress or wherever it is that you grew up, and there you are like kicking about, and you get angry or you get upset, what an adult will say to you is, stop being angry. Like, don't be upset. And what they might even do, which is an absolute classic, is, don't be upset. Here's a and then they'll give you something to stop you being upset. So here's a chocolate biscuit, or here's this, or they'll try and distract you. What they won't say is, okay, so you're fuming mad and you just hooked your brother. Okay. Like, at the time, what were you feeling? And do you think that was an effective way of using, that you were angry? Do you think that was the best way to do it? And explore it. They don't do that. They put it to bed. So what happens is that we end up as adults, that as soon as something goes wrong, we apply the physical health. So we think that we can do the same for our mental health as we do for our physical health. So we go, fix me. I'm broken. I'm shagged. That's it. I'm fucked. My head's gone. And I don't know what to do. So somebody help me. And then somebody gives you a pill and you go, yay, this is it. This is obviously kind of the thing that's going to make me feel better, but then it doesn't. And then it doesn't make you feel better. What it does is, and we can come on to medication if you want to ask it, because I'm not anti-medication and antidepressants and things, but it's not a cure. And therefore, what I think is that what we have to do is get people to understand their mind. We're now in a place where we have to educate. So when we go into a school, if we can educate the young people that the mental health does not always have to be said as mental health. Yeah. It's like mental health. Everything has to be serious, when we talk about. No, it doesn't. We can have a laugh, and this is the prop. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these before. It's like a wee soft kind of piece of bamboo, and I'm about to give away one of my tricks. If you ever meet me now at an event, basically what we get people to do is we stand at Girls' Day Out and other events and go, do you want to take a mental health test with these things hanging off our fingers? Honestly, the number of lassies at Girls' Day Out that walk past us, when you're going, you want to take a mental health test, and they walk past and then you see them go, what? And then they come back. And what it is, I don't know if you remember these from being a wee guy, but it's called a Chinese finger trap. Yeah, and what happens is the more you pull, the more it grabs you. And actually, genuinely, I remember Scottish Learning Festival, which is one for like schools and stuff. I remember I did this with a lassie, and as soon as she pulled her finger and it tightened, she like backed off. She was like, stop it, I don't like it. And I'm like, you have to stop walking away from me, stop it. And she's like walking away, and I'm like, stop. Because obviously you do the opposite. You kind of push it back in, and you push it back in and it goes a little bit wider. And my point about this is, when you understand how it works, you stop being scared of it. Because you know exactly what to do to get out. You go, all right, well, that makes total sense. I push it in, it lets my fingers out, I pull it tight, and it grabs my fingers. And this is just like the mind. As soon as we understand how it works, even if you do get anxious or depressed or something like that, you stop being scared of it. You stop being like freaked out by like, why am I anxious? What's going on? Why am I feeling like this? This is horrible. And it still is horrible. But at least you know, all right, I kind of get at least what's going on. And that is a massive comfort when you know, as I said earlier on, that you're not broken. So that kind of also comes into the school thing. That's why we go into schools.
Yeah.
Let's show people that they're not broken. Let's show these kids that 13 years old that it's all right to be anxious sometimes. And that's normal. I think I mean, we never got that at school. No. I don't imagine you would have got it at school.
No, definitely not. Because I just kind of think this whole, the anxiety thing has definitely become more prominent. And I've kind of had conversations with people about this before, and I can't really remember anyone at school ever sort of showing the signs of anxiety. However, nowadays it's everywhere, and I kind of attributed it to, we didn't have like social media and everybody all examining us, and you're trying to keep up with how many likes or follows that person's got. And I think kids are self-scrutinising so much more than when I was younger. And then when you were talking about medication, I kind of think the medication thing is, people, it's just easy to go to the doctor, I'm a bit sad, they're a pill, take them, you'll feel smashing. But all they're doing is masking the underlying problem rather than digging underneath it and getting to the root of the issue.
Aye. No, you're absolutely right. And that's it, isn't it? I think the thing about an antidepressant is it's a good ship steadier for some people.
Yeah.
So I'm not antidepressants at all. I use the metaphor all the time that if you, well, this is actually a really relevant example for you. If you want to break your leg, for instance, now, Now, I'm just talking about a simple, normal broken leg, right? Can I just say, like, nothing like a Greg Chalmers style broken leg where you just actually decide just to completely shatter the thing, like nothing like that. But if I have a normal broken leg, so this might be something you'll remember.
Yeah.
What you want is a crutch, and you want something to take the weight off.
Yes.
But you imagine, even with your situation, you know, imagine if what happened was you went back, and I'm sure it was. I mean, it's a long recuperation period, a long rehabilitation. Now, if you went back to the doctor at one point, like say 6 months in or something like that, when things, you know, are still tough but they should be getting better, and you went still a bit sore, and the doctor went, do you know what we're going to do, Greg? We'll give you a second crutch, and what I want you to do is put no pressure on the leg at all. Don't do anything, like just leave it sitting there. And then you go back again, you go, it's still a bit sore. No wonder you're not using the thing. And then they go, well, here's a wheelchair. Do you know what? You just keep all the weight off that 24 hours a day. And that's not what works. What works is you having to go to physio. And is it sore? And you're going, geez, that's sore and that's tight and there's no strength in it and all that kind of stuff. But you need to go to that physio to take those first 4 steps, to then take the 6 steps, to then take the 10 steps, to then be able basically to start to walk again. And this is what happens with mental health, is that basically we just keep, as you say, we just keep chucking tablets at it until what happens is we're just masking it. And it's okay to have a crutch, but you need to be doing the physio. And the physio is, for me, talking therapy. The physio for me is go and talk to someone about it. Like, what's going on? What is it that happened in your head? As I said right at the start, you know, my grandpa died or whatever it is, you know, or, you know, that this happened. And sometimes it's you need to be outside your head to be able to help yourself. So the antidepressants, decent crutch, but that's about it. And it was interesting as well what you were saying about social media. We grew up obviously without it.
Yeah,
you
man.
know, so
Unplugged.
Unplugged, yeah. And that for me is a big thing, because when we were growing up, like you said about anxiety, but let's take that to another level, especially with teenagers. Take that to another level with something like self-harm. And if one of your mates came up to you when you were 15 and said, by the way, mate, look what I've done to my arm. Or even, you know, in terms of anxiety, this could be, you know, that, mate, I've been feeling a bit like this. The self-harm is actually in some ways a better example. And what would happen is, you know, your mates would turn around and going, what the hell did you do that for?
Yeah.
Like, you're right. Like, what was going on? And like, have you done it again? And like, and a week later, you'd all be like, by the way, you've not done that thing to your arm again, have you?
Yeah.
And your mate would have got, well, you know, I've been feeling like it, but no, you know, I've not, because it wasn't normalised. There was nobody to tell that guy that was all right to do.
Yeah.
But now on social media, it would take either of us and anybody listening to this podcast literally 4 seconds to find an Instagram account full of people who are self-harming.
Really?
Or to go on. Oh, honestly, honestly, you'll find people who. So if I'm now a teenager who self-harms, my mates don't get me because I say to my mates, and they're like, what'd you do that for? But I can go on to Snapchat. I used to be, I don't know if it's still the same, but Tumblr used to be terrible for it. Go on to Tumblr, I can go on to Insta, and all of a sudden I find other people who are doing it, who are going, I know exactly how you feel.
It's like a community. You feel you belong.
Aye. And now I belong. And now I'm like, so this is okay. Even though I know I feel shit and I know I'm hurting myself, there's other people who are, so it's like an echo chamber.
Yep.
You know, and all of a sudden, when you now are saying, is this guy's mate, you're going, what are you doing that for? He's actually might even move away from you now, because he's like, well, Greg doesn't understand me. Greg doesn't know why I cut my arm, but see all my friends online, all these people that I talk to every day, they get it. And I think that's one of the hugest differences. Anxiety, you know, the number of influencers, I don't know who you follow, but the number of influencers that are on various social media things that are selling anxiety. You know, they're the ones that are sitting there going, you know, thanks very much to all my followers today, because if it wasn't for you, guys, I had another panic attack today. And it's like, well, if they can have a panic attack, then I'm 15 years old and I'm watching that and I'm going, well, she seems as if she's got her shit sorted and she's in panic, so it must be all right for me. So, in fact, it might, I think it's even getting to a level where that it's becoming the thing. There was that wee, remember that wee hashtag that was running a wee while ago, but it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that has to be shifted now to it's okay to be okay, because if you're 15, 16 years old and you go into your mates, especially if you're a lassie, and you go in and you go, I feel sorted, feel quite confident with myself. I think I look a bit gallus today. I've got my new, I've got my naked palette, I've got my bronzer on, I'm looking great, my tan's perfect. All your mates are looking at you going, what? You're not insecure about this, or by me, this, and therefore there's a fitting in thing again, that belonging thing, especially with teenagers.
It has become fashionable. The breakdown has become fashionable. Do you know, it's funny because you look at the likes of Britney Spears when she had a very famous breakdown when she shaved her head and all that, right? And the whole world was like, woofed, check your knicker, Britney. Whereas you saw Sam Smith was on his Instagram story the other day there, full on breakdown, and everyone was just like, oh, Sam.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. Where's Sam's therapist? That's what I want.
We'll tell you what, Brian, we'll tag him in this post, right? You might get a turnout.
Exactly. I want to be Sam's therapist. Let's start running that.
Actually, do you know what I was going to say? It's just when you're talking about the teenagers, right? Teenagers are notoriously shut down. You know, like if somebody tried to help them, they're probably going to be like, fuck you. Do you know what I mean? How do they take it? So see, when you take when you take NLP into schools and you're trying to do your thing, are they fairly open to it, or is it like, are they come at it from a kind of skeptical viewpoint, or?
They're relatively, I think there's a couple of different levels to that question, I think. Right? So we go in and we do a variety of things. So we do like big assemblies, and we do one-to-ones sometimes. We do one-to-ones as well privately, but we do one-to-ones in the school. Then we do small group sessions. Sometimes we take small groups of kids. The thing that I always say to a school is that I like to kick it off with an assembly. Whatever it is we're doing, I like to go in and get like a full year group. So like give me the whole of fourth year, or give me the whole of fifth year, or something like that. Because we are not what they expect. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you're not what they expect, that's you're in. So what we do is we go in and tell like stupid stories. So like I've got one of my favourites to do. It's funny watching the faces of the teachers, because quite often they've just had a recommendation for another school, and all the teachers are sitting there going, I've heard this guy's brilliant, I've heard he's great, and then you start and you just see them going, what have we done? Especially you got a Catholic school with this one I'm about to talk about. So like I've got a third year assembly that I kick off by going, so the teacher comes up and says, this is Brian, and I'll walk up and basically the first thing I'll say is I'll go, hello there third year, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off today with a wee bit of a story, and it's a story about something that's important to some of you, I'm sure, because I want to talk about birds, and specifically about birds I want to speak about tits. Now, in a group of third years, you just leave that just to sit for a second, and then you click your pointer, a picture of blue tits pops up on the screen, and you're like, I don't know why you're all laughing. I'm here to speak about birds, and I'm here to speak about blue tits, because blue tits are very interesting, and then you go off on your story. But in that moment, they're like, who's this guy? And as soon as you get that, genuinely you've got them. You're now the alright guy. Like, I genuinely walk into schools, especially the ones I've been in quite a lot, and I'll walk through the corridors if I'm going to meet a teacher, and they'll be like, hi Brian. You're walking through the streets and people want to say hello to you because actually they want to fit in with you because you're a bit different. So then when it comes to one-to-ones, they're much more open, and they're much more ready. And even from the point of view of when we do that privately, like let's say that in another world, you're bringing your teenage son or your teenage daughter to me for some sort of therapy. The very first thing I do is I shake that young person's hand, and everything gets directed at them. So what I mean by that is that they become the most important person in the room, and they're not used to that by adults. They're used to being talked about. So like let's say that there was you were bringing your son or daughter, let's call them Maisie for the sake of argument, right? And here's wee Maisie here. Once I've shaken her hand, I'll go, right, Maisie, here's what's about to happen, and everything gets and therefore she feels important. And I say, now I'm going to have a chat with your mum and dad, but this is, and that it kind of just softens it. And because they hardly cry, genuinely, this is a beautiful story. I love this. There was a wee lassie came to see me kind of tail end of last year. And this is genuinely how a lot of our sessions go. Even for adults, this is how a lot of our sessions go, but it's even more powerful when it's wee people. I think she was about 13 years old. She was proper scared, sitting there like that, head down. You could see the wee smile, and she was kind of getting it a wee bit, and she was really open. But one of the questions I always ask them is, are you going back to school after this? So it was a school day, and she said, we've to see, my mum and dad said that they would see how I was feeling once we finished and see if we went back to school. And at the end of doing what we were doing and doing this techniques, genuinely this wee lassie is sitting in this room, in my room. Now, her mum and dad aren't with her at this point, and she's sitting in the room with this huge cheese or grin off on her face because she just feels as if finally somebody listened, somebody understood. And not only that, but through NLP and all these things, I've got the tools to take that weight off her. Mm-hmm. And she just felt amazing. And we did this wee thing like, right, we're getting you out of school. And she had, we gave her tissues, and she sat there like that when mum and dad came in, like that. So when mum and dad came into the room, she's sitting there pretending to cry, going, no, mum, I'm devastated, I'm devastated. It's so hard. But God love her. The reason it's such a nice story is she couldn't keep the smile off her face. So she's sitting there like that, no, mum, I'm so upset. And mum and dad are like, it's actually quite often the parents that come in going, that's not what they expected. Yeah. They expected a wee lassie that was like drained. And but actually she loved it. Never cried once. Did 3 sessions with her. She's back at school. She's loving life. And it's just, once you break them, once you show them that they can trust you, for me, young people are in. What they're used to is people going, as I said earlier, what's going on, you know, and that's what they think it's going to be like. So
it must be really rewarding, Brian. It must be really rewarding.
It's honestly lovely, and it's especially, I mean, working with adults as well. Those runway texts that I talked about earlier are a lovely thing to get. You know, when you get that text going, I'm in Mallorca, or, you know, I got a message the other day, I'm doing some stuff during lockdown and all that kind of stuff for a company called the Wise Group. Like they deal with poverty and all these types of things. That amazing bunch of people. I'm doing some work for them, and there was a woman that contacted me when we'd done, I think, the first 2. And just absolutely out of the blue, I never even knew she was there. And out of the blue, she messaged me just to say, by the way, the reason I'm working for the Wise Group is because of you. And I'd forgotten, I'd remembered her name, I remembered that I worked with her, but she said, this is what happened after I finished. And she's like, I've been working now here for 6 years, I've been loving it, it's been fantastic. There are genuinely, this is a lovely thing, it's weird, right enough, I've got to admit it's weird, but there are what I call there's quite a few headstrong babies out there.
Really?
As well, who are like, you know, just, that sounds well odd, by the way.
That sounds well odd. It kind of suggests that you were in the room in some way, shape or form.
Mate, Greg, you coach anything. You know, like, not like that. Slower.
Turn on the music, kid.
Down. Yeah, it's like, no, it's like when somebody comes to you, you know, and they're like, that's it, my marriage is finished. And then actually what you do is you help them clear up some shite that's in their head, and they realise their marriage isn't finished. Or they were single and they come to you and you help them get over some stuff, and then all of a sudden what happens is they're out there, you know, and they manage to meet someone and they get married and all of this type of stuff. You know, I've been invited to weddings before and all sorts, because, you know, if it wasn't for you, then this wouldn't have happened. I got to admit, I think there's a technical professional term I use for those types of moments. I call them a total head fuck. I almost can't, I don't get it. I get it, but it's not like something that I don't know. We've known each other for a while, not that we kind of talk all the time, but we've known each other for a number of years, and I don't tend to have a big ego. So when people say that, I'm more like, oh, no, I didn't really. It was, but I get it. I get that, like, professionally, yes, I was involved in that, and I get it, but I don't feel as if I can ever really take the credit. But it is massively rewarding, especially with the kids, when you see them or you hear them and you hear the stories, and you know that you made a difference, and it's just lovely. You know, it's just such a magic thing, especially when they come in terrified.
Yep.
And they leave actually going, am I not going to see you again? And you're like, no, I'm afraid that's it. And I always say to them, I'm always like, look, in the nicest way in the world, I hope I never see you again, because that means that everything's okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not a nasty thing. I hope I bump into you in Braehead or Silverburn or the Fort or something like that. I hope that happens. But in the nicest way, I hope I don't see you again, because that's it, you're sorted. Yeah. But you never know.
So do you, obviously what we've spoken about is people utilising NLP in their personal life. But do you deal with business people, you know, entrepreneurs and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, because ultimately it's like NLP, if you like, and I use also like hypnotherapy, bits of coaching, bits of CBT, although I'm not specifically trained in CBT, just over, I've now been doing this for 17 years, so you pick up bits of lots of different things. But NLP is still the core of what I do. One of the ways that it used to be described was the study of excellence. It was, in some books, it was called the technology of achievement. You know, people wanted to look at things, and therefore in business, I was on a course actually in January with one of the like main guys for like right back at the beginning of NLP, a guy called Robert Dilts. He's fascinating. It was brilliant. Weird, by the way. I don't know if you might have had this experience. I don't know, just doing, you know, photography and stuff. But going into a training room where I was one of only 3 English speakers, and one of them was my business partner who I was there with. Weird. I'd never had that experience before. It's proper bizarre, you know, being in this course. But anyway, what his thing was called the success factor modelling, and it is entirely for business owners. But it's about getting them out of, you know, how sometimes, you know, you run your own business, you know what it's like. You can get lost a little bit in the,
totally.
You can get lost in doing. You know, you get lost in spreadsheets and accounts and receipts and doing stuff and bookings and diaries, and you forget. Sometimes it can become a job.
Yeah.
And you kind of forget why you're doing it, and you're doing it because you're passionate and you love it, and it's something that you love to do. I do a thing, not this year obviously, but I do a thing every year for the guides, for the Girl Guides. They've got a big centre down just outside Biggar. And I go down every year and I do like a morning for them. I do about an hour and a half presentation. And because it's so far away, every time I see it in my diary, I'm like, it's a Saturday morning, starts at 9:30, so I have to leave here. I'm just outside Paisley. I'm leaving here at stupid o'clock in the morning to drive all the way to this thing. The place is always freezing and all that. And I remember when I did it last year, I remember being proper grumpy in the morning about doing it. And oh, geez, I'm like, so early in the morning, you know, it felt like a job. And I remember when I phoned my wife when it finished, I said to her, I was like, can you please remind me of the feeling that I currently have when you have to remind me of why I do what I do? Because I felt amazing. Honestly, I floated at that place because the real lasses were amazing. They totally got it. They laughed at my jokes, which is important. But you could see that some of them were even coming up at the end and going, thank you for that. That really meant a lot, and I understood what you were talking about, and that is just amazing. Now, imagine being able to take that feeling that I had in that moment and install it into a business owner. Because so many of us forget why we do what we do. And that, for me, is where the business thing comes in. Going into businesses, and so for entrepreneurs, getting them to put themselves first again, to remember why they do what they do. Because a lot of us, I don't know if it's the same in what you do, but a lot of people get involved in business quite often because of, because of a drive and because of a passion. But sometimes the thing that drives us is a complete fear of failure. You know, like the thing that drives you forward is, can he fuck this up? Can he fuck this up? I hope this doesn't fail. Everybody will laugh at me if this goes bad.
Totally.
Every hour under the sun, I'm going to work and I'm going to work and I'm going to work. And then what happens is you build a business that's actually a really good success, kind of driven through fear, but you've built a successful business, but you're still going and you're still going. You've done it. You're right. Ciao. That's okay. Because sometimes insecurities, we see it always as a bad thing, but you know, a want for perfection, you know, especially in a profession such as yours, a want for perfection, which can sometimes be born out of a thought that you're not good enough, so I'm going to be perfect, actually produces this quality that that actually the people who are just like, I am a photographer, you know, like that they never get to that level, because the fact that you spent 2 hours touching that photo up and doing all that because you wanted it to be perfect is the difference between you and the wee guy down the street that did a photography course and doesn't get as many bookings and that. So sometimes our insecurities can drive us to amazing things, but there's a point at which that becomes a negative, and that's where I think the entrepreneurial thing comes, and helping business owners is just about saying, where is it that you're insecure? Where is it that I worked with a woman recently that is the co-owner of a restaurant in Glasgow city centre, and her thing was that she kept on getting angry, she kept on losing staff. Because they don't do it like I want them to. And she was understanding that actually her want for perfection was brilliant. I've got to admit, I worked in catering for about 10 years of my career, right way back from about 16 to about 26. And if ever I was to run a restaurant, it would be like hers. It would be like, I'm not a big perfectionist with many things, but when it comes to the standards that I produce as well, just in terms of what I do, but even now, but it was like, I loved the way that everybody was so, it wasn't drilled, it wasn't stuffy, it was quite casual, but everybody knew there was a standard, and I liked that. But it had tipped over into the fact that actually now she was so demanding, and she knew it, she could see it happening, and she didn't know how to stop. And it was kind of coming out of this perfectionism insecurity. So we actually ended up genuinely dealing with a lot of stuff from school. And that then helped her in business, because it was all this stuff that had happened to her when she was like 16, 17, in terms of, again, not being good enough, trying to fit in, trying to build herself up. That now in her mid-40s, very, very successful businesswoman, she just needed a wee bit of help in going, you're not her anymore. Yeah. You're not that wee lassie anymore. You're now a very successful, and really, and embracing what she'd done. And that was one of the things. I do a technique. To call it a technique, it's more of a process. Genuinely, anybody that's listening to this podcast could do this. It's much easier with somebody else. Okay. Much easier when somebody else is helping you, especially somebody that doesn't know you that well and doesn't know your story. But you can do it yourself. I call it "This Is Your Life," and it is literally about going through. It would be like me going to you saying, "Okay, Greg, so you're now a photographer, and you're, you do that stuff, and you're fantastic at it, and." But if you go way back, when did you first get into art and creative stuff? And you realising that Greg Chalmers, the photographer, as you sit here in front of me at whatever age you are, that actually you're not just here just because it's what you do and you happen to be good at it. You've paid fortunes in courses, studied, made mistakes, had mentors that you've followed. You've gone and you've put the hard graft in. As we spoke about off camera just before we started, you've stood in freezing cold walks to see whether or not you could get that shot that nobody else would get. You've done all these things, and some of them have worked and some of them haven't, but it's about realising, because that especially for business owners, that the reason that you are here isn't just luck. It's not just because, it's just I just was there at the right time in the right place. No, you've worked your arse off to get here, and that was the last technique I did with that woman, and she cried. Because what I do at the end is I read it back out and I go, right, okay, so here's what happened. So in 19 this, you said to yourself, I'm going to do this. And then what happened was, your dad did this, and then your mum and dad did this, and you had to go here, and then that failed. And as she heard her own story back, it was like, holy, she's sitting there crying as she realised how much she'd achieved. And at that moment, that I think is so important. That, bring it full circle, is when you remember why you do it, because you're passionate about it. And what it is you do it for is for those wee moments, like as you've reminded me about today, those wee moments when that wee lassie smiles and pretends to cry. There's a lot of diary stuff happening at the moment, and it's like, right, shit, where's that fitting in and where does that go? That's not what I do it for. And I think if you're a business owner listening to this, then that genuinely turning that back on again, you've not lost it. It's just hiding.
Because I have quite a lot of my friends are all in business, and one friend in particular is having a really hard time with it. Well, all this stuff that's going on, he's having a hard time personally anyway. And what you were talking about, that kind of schoolyard attitude when he's like, "Oh, I feel a bit shit, man," and I'm just like, "Stop being an idiot and just pull yourself together." Right?
You're amazing, so you are.
Yeah, just like, look, you're so much better than this.
Yeah.
But he has a whole load of other things that have happened previously, and it has culminated in this anxious, stressed ball that is now forced to live by himself, right?
Yes, yeah, with no contact with anyone.
With no contact with anyone, yeah. And it's difficult because what you were describing there is basically what happened with me. Like I always say to people, I was just right place, right time, right? I did genuinely say that. Oh, I just came in at the right time, right? Right, and because it's one of those ones you don't want to be the guy that goes, well, I've actually, I mean, and part of the thing is like I never went to college or went to uni. I just taught myself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just picked up a camera and taught yourself.
Just had a bash at it, and it just turned out I was quite good at it, and that seems to be the kind of common denominator in most things that I've done. I went, okay, I go, and then just I've kind of. But what happens with me is that as soon as I do something, I don't ever want anyone to be better than me. So my constant thing is I'm chasing somebody all the time. But what happens is you get to a point when you're not chasing anybody anymore, and you go,
yep,
right, okay, so what do I do now? And that's exactly what happened to me. So when I first started, I was like, I want to live in this particular place. I went, I want to live in that penthouse flat up there. I want to have made this amount of money. I want to have this studio, that car, and be better than everything. And see, when I got there, I was like, all right, well, what happens now?
Yeah.
And it was almost like it was in my head, it was that unattainable that I could continue to chase it. But then when you get it, you're a bit like, oh, you're kind of stuck. And I think that's what's happened to my pal as well. He's a restaurateur as well, but he has kind of got to that point now where he's hitting a brick wall. And it's fairly common in entrepreneurs. Do you know what I mean? That's why I kind of brought that up, because we are a driven bunch, and we're also very headstrong without trying to name drop. Headstrong. We don't take advice easily. That's part of the reason why I work for myself. I couldn't work for anybody else. And it must be difficult for you to go in and go, right, and then try and maneuver your way. Do you know what I mean? And try and get into somebody's psyche who is so used to just going, no, I'm right and you're wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, but the thing is, and this actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's reminded me of something that's important with everybody, again, right back to teenagers through to entrepreneurs. The thing is though, that my client is my teacher. So rather than me coming in and going, I know what to do, what I need to find out is how you work first. So actually for certain people, especially entrepreneurs, it gives them an opportunity to actually talk about why and how they do what they do, because much as there's some structure, I use an example quite often of, we could have nothing against the first motor that I mentioned here, but we could have a Volkswagen Polo, sitting next to a Ferrari, and they both work on exactly the same concept. They both work on combustion engines. The engines are essentially the same. They have steering wheels, they have wheels, but they are very, very different machines. But they still work on the same concept. They just work with it differently. Yep. And the difference between somebody who basically ends up doing a job where they never really push themselves, because that could be a variety of things, to the entrepreneur who's constantly pushing themselves. You're both using the same engine, if you like. It's just that you're using it differently. So I need to understand how you use that, and therefore, quite often in terms of getting in, what people think is they're going to be sat down and given advice.
Okay.
Now, what they're first done is they're sat down and listened to, sometimes for the first time, where it's like, okay, so what's that like, and what does that mean to you? So you do that, and that's one of my most popular and common questions that I ask people is they'll say something like, so let's say, your mate, and he goes, well, all this lockdown's shit, and I'll go, well, okay, so what does lockdown mean to you? What is it to you as a man? What does lockdown mean? I'm separated from people. Okay, so what do people mean to you? And it's like understanding almost like the map of his mind to understand what it is that's going on. So in some ways that enables people to get in, because, again, they're thinking they're going to sit down and get lectured, sit down and get told, when actually quite often they're not. But yeah, you brought something else up important, and I think for everybody is important as well, because that whole thing you talked about, I call what you just talked about the post-mission blues, which is what do you do when you've got it?
Yeah.
What do you do when you make it? What do you do when you get there? And it's like post-mission blues. I remember I had a personal trainer a few years ago, and he used to do like the beach body competitions. So he wasn't like pure big kind of the big muscle guys like that. They used to do all the same things, standing their budgie smugglers with their bronzer on like that. But it was more that kind of real beach body, like total ripped and all of that kind of stuff. And he used to talk to me about how a lot of guys after the competitions used to go on right downers. And the reason is because when we have that purpose, when we have that drive, that mission, everything that happens is about that mission, especially for somebody, you know, who runs their own business or is doing a competition like that. You know, like I remember watching him, like his alarm would go off on his phone and he'd take out the wee tub. You ever watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how when Terry, there was a couple of episodes when Terry used to bring out one cashew nut in a wee poly bag, you know, a wee bag, and he'd have his one cashew nut.
They've got to lick the bag after it, aye.
Exactly. Yeah, he was like that. It was like, oh, right, my alarm's going off. It's now time for macronutrients because I'm currently working on these muscles that are like here and I need them to like pop. And it was just all consuming. And then it stops. Mm-hmm. And that thing that happens post-mission is about then what's your next mission? And I think what a lot of people do is, especially if they've worked for a mission like that for a number of years, now that could be anything, by the way, if you're listening to this podcast, that could be having a baby. You know, that I have met so many people who post something like IVF have ended up thinking this was the most amazing moment of my life because it's been successful. I know it's not successful for everybody, but you know, I can't believe I've now got my wee son or daughter. Why don't I feel happy? Mm-hmm. And it's because for the last 11 years of your life, all you ever thought of was ovulation cycles. You know, this, my next appointment at the hospital, this, that, you know, implant, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's over now, you're allowed to enjoy it. But now you've got a new mission because now you're a parent. So it can be all of these things, but it could be something tiny. It could be like getting fit. It could be, you know, the number of people who hit a target weight and they hit their target weight and then they're like, what the fuck did I do now? Like, what, am I still on my diet? What did I do? And then that's the number of people that then bounce back after hitting their target weight because they relax off the back of the mission, and it's like, no, now you've got a new mission. Now what's the next mission? What's the next thing? And I experienced it when we moved in here. I was very similar to you. I wanted my girls to have a room of their own. So we basically for many years, for 16 years, I lived in Linwood, just outside the outskirts of Paisley. I was a Paisley boy anyway, and we lived in a wee flat with like 2 bedrooms and a box room. Our girls shared a bedroom. I decided to start my own business when they were, what age were they? About 8 and 6. And I started my own business. And then 5 years ago, my wife went back to uni as a mature student. She'd the first person in her family to go to uni, all these things. And finally, when she got a job and business was going okay, we moved in here, into this house. My girls got a room of their own. And for about 7 months, this whole headstrong thing became a job.
Yep.
It's like totally uninspired, totally unmotivated, because I'd got it. Mm-hmm. And this is it. This is what I wanted. And interestingly, that I got a good business coach, which, by the way, for any entrepreneurs or business people out there, get yourself a good business coach. And I got a great business coach, and she just helped review the vision and restate the vision. Where are you going next? And it doesn't have to be about business, by the way. This is just life. Where are you going next? What's the next thing? And from there, my business is, in the last 5 years, is transformed from just being me and one other person who basically would pick up the ones that I couldn't kind of. It's like almost my overflow.
Yeah.
Sure, that must have happened in photography. Occasionally, look, mate, I'm too busy. My diary can't fit it. Here, do you want this wedding?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It was like that. To now that we're a team of 6 people, I've actually got get employees, and we've got an office in the city centre of Glasgow, and it's like, because that was the new thing, is how many people can we impact? How many more people can we go out there and help? And that was the new passion, and that's where I still am, and it's that new mission, because it's not been an easy road for the last 5 years. Last year was an absolute fucking nightmare. I don't think there's any other way to describe it. It was horrible. It was like just firefighting all the time. I'm sure this will be something I might need therapy after this, Greg. I'm reviving all these memories. But I'm going to mention 4 letters that to any business owner they'll all about to sit there and go,
don't even say it. Yeah. Don't say it. Don't say it. I know what you're going to say.
You know the 4 letters I'm about to say. It starts with H, it ends with a C, and it's M and R in the middle. Yeah, it's like we got 3 tax bills like at the beginning of the year that went bum bum bum, and they were massive, and it just knocked our whole year out. But the thing that kept me going, because genuinely last year was the first year in 13 years of business that I thought I might have to close this shop.
Yeah,
this might be it. I might not be able to recover for this. All thanks to the taxman, and it was. I've got to admit, as my accountant would say, a lack of prep was probably to do with it. I've got to take some responsibility for that, but still, they could have been mildly kinder. But the thing that kept me going was the passion and the mission, and the fact that if that had happened when I'd first moved in here, and I was in that kind of, don't know what I'm doing, I'd probably just given it up because it wouldn't have mattered enough.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. It's about when you achieve something, it's about taking the time, and this could take a couple of months. Like, people think that it should be instant. Like, I should just, okay, I've done that, now what am I going to do next? No, it could take a couple of months of you sitting there going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, where do I want to go? And it could mean that you need somebody outside you to actually sit there. So, like, my job, is to sit outside and go, right, hang on, so what you're saying is this and this, and to have to sit in front of people who sit there and go, aye. Now I've said that out loud, that doesn't make any sense, does it? And you go, no, it doesn't. But you needed to say it to someone outside you, or for somebody to go, by the way, that's an amazing idea, and you should 100. But what is it that's stopping you, like, going and just making that happen? Yeah. Why is that not a thing yet? And sometimes it's just someone outside that doesn't know you, that has no attachment to you in any way, to just sit outside and go, do you know what, this is all going to be okay, is exactly what you need. So new purposes, massively important.
Yeah.
So I don't know what yours is now. I don't know where you're.
Well, actually,
what's happening.
Do you know
what?
I had a major funk last year. So after my dad passed away, and then I had that injury, and things weren't going smashing. Do you know what I mean? So, but I've got a friend that I'd met randomly while shooting another wedding like 2 years ago, who then started working with me last year, like second shooting for me. And this guy is a web social media guru guy. He's right switched on, and he is also the most positive person I have ever met in my life, right? And I am notoriously pessimistic, right? But this guy, I swear to God, you talk to him on the phone for 5 minutes and you're like, right, come on, that's it, let's invade. And so we were actually sitting in Mar Hall, and we were talking away, and I was just a bit like, oh God, I just had my dinner, and I was like, I need to go back and take more photos, man. And just, do you know what I mean? I was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I hamster every day. Anyway, and he was like, what about this? And he just dropped this idea on me. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'm in. And so basically, that happened. That idea thing happened. And then a week later, snapped my leg in half. So, so that, like, we were like, look, we need to put Everton on hold for the next wee while. And then he went, so we got to like middle of February, and I was starting to limp, and I was like, okay, right, here we go. And then the pandemic came. And, it's
you
like
can send a message.
But the thing is, with this friend of mine, he is he kind of in a business sense pulled me out of that funk. That coupled with my best pal Chris, who is literally, I feel sorry for the guy, man, because he's got his own life to worry about, and he spends 4 hours a day on the phone with me going, and I'm like, Chris, I don't know what to do, and he's like, right, Greg, what you need to do, and he's like, I've got wings, man. His wife's like, Chris, what are you doing on the phone? But it takes somebody who is, because I think what you were talking about there is that you're on the inside looking out.
Yep.
But if you've got someone who is on the outside looking in, like that pal was talking about that gave me the idea, he could see the good things. He's like, well, Greg, he's very good at this and he's very good at that, and I can do this. So together we can put us. Whereas I'm on the inside just going, I just want to take photographs. That's all I do.
Yep.
And I just folk won't leave me alone, right? And that basically built the whole thing.
It can get to a stage, though, I would imagine for you as well, though, where maybe what you were also saying, I don't know, I'm guessing here, but inside your head is, all I can do is take photographs.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, all I can do is weddings, all I can do is this, this is what I do. It's like you're stuck.
Yeah.
Like stuck on this track, and as you say, I take it what your mate did was probably go, no, hang on a minute, let's pan back. Yeah, you take photographs, but what about this?
Yeah, well, that's very much it, and he's so much more well versed in the way people do business nowadays.
Yeah,
the way I do business was cultivated from my dad, who was self-employed. So just follow his kind of thing. There's been a few amendments, but the ethos is still the same. So having somebody who comes in with like a fresh new haircut and just goes, Greggy boy, let's do it this way, then you kind of think to yourself, all right. But it's a lot to take on, and I've never had a partner before, so it's good with him because we can kind of share the load a bit. I've always been the guy who just feels like he's carrying the yoke. You know, at one point I had 13 staff, and a 1,900 square foot studio.
Yep.
And then I had that when I was 27. Do you know what I mean?
Amazing.
Yeah. But again, top line looks great. Oh, great boy about town, netting about, just having a nice time. But in behind that facade is just someone who is perpetually pulling his hair out, can't step away from his mobile phone, hasn't been on holiday for ages, or even if he does manage to get 2 or 3 days away, the first day is fine, but the second and third day, your anxiety is building up because you've not answered an email. Right, so at that point, I went, I need to slow this down here, because in an attempt to build a life, I'm actually stopping myself from having one. So, do you know what I mean?
But that's it.
Yeah.
The number of, especially guys that do that. I meet so many guys that I can see them. See, as soon as I see their names in the diary, and you go, we normally get a wee blurb, just a tiny wee bit before they come in, and you go, all right. It's a middle-aged guy who's coming for therapy. Okay, here's the story. And invariably, not always, but you tend to be right, which is doing what you've just done, what you've just talked about, working their arse off to make a better life for their family. I'm going to do all this, and then I can retire at 55. And then at 50, their missus finally gets fucked off and basically goes, I'm not living like this anymore, and leaves them. And then they sit in front of me going, but I was going to retire at 55. And I'm like, yeah, but your life was now. Your life wasn't at 55. They wanted you now. Your family needed you now. And your friends needed you now. They don't need you at 55 when you can then go, I'm now doing fuck all because I've got an amazing pension pot. That's brilliant and lovely to have, but you also have to live, and you're right. I was speaking to a guy, excuse me, I was speaking to a guy the other day, and it was exactly that. He's director of what would look on the outside as a massively successful company, and he's on the phone to me while I'm wandering about here in the house going, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I enjoy what I do. He's struggling to keep his kids going through private school because that keeps up appearances, but wondering whether or not he's going to be able to pay his car payments, and worried about his kids when they go to uni about how much that's going to cost them because he can't work it, and blah, 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 blah. Now, if you met him, you'd go, oh, that's him. He's one of the directors of them. And I think it is. There's so much of, I suppose we could broaden this out and say so much of our lives these days are all illusions, but
of course.
It has to be success in every area of your life. It has to hit everything. And my business partner as well, it's interesting what you say. I talked about that course I went on in Spain in January. And there was a bit in it where there's a lot of close the eyes stuff happens, a lot of visualization happens in these courses, and sometimes in my therapy as well when we do this stuff. People think that imagination is actually about like just making shit up, but actually what it's about is it's about making shit happen. It's about like actually switching things on and doing these things. But I'm standing there in the middle of this room in Spain, and this guy's talking us through this process where it's about imagining this big vision and this big passion and all of these things, and everybody else is feeling brilliant, and I'm standing there going, I'm feeling anxious. Why am I feeling anxious? Why am I feeling this kind of tightness as if I can't imagine it in my head, and my brain keeps on going to all these problems. Now, one of the things he kept on saying was, if you feel any anxiety come up, embrace it. What is it? Don't push it away. Just and I brought it in, and it took me about 3 or 4 hours. And all of a sudden, and this is something you just mentioned, which triggered it in my head, is all of a sudden I realised that when I was closing my eyes and was imagining this vision of us like transforming the way that people talk about mental health and all this stuff, I'm on my own. I'm imagining that I'm the yoke carrier, as you said. I'm imagining that I'm standing there, and I'm imagining myself, and it's just me. Mm-hmm. And I'm having to manage everyone. And all of a sudden, the vision shifted, and it became me and a team that was part of something. And all of a sudden, when I did that, it like the anxiety went away, and all of a sudden, this kind of feeling came up. And I think there's so many of us that think that we're on our own when we're not. We're on our own because we make ourselves on our own. We choose, not consciously, but unconsciously, we are making choices through fear to be isolated on our own. I don't know how many guys listen to this, but blokes that are listening to this at the moment, this is male mental health 101, is that our fear isolates us, so we don't reach out to somebody like me until it's too late.
Yeah.
The 55-year-old guy probably knew something was going on about 5 or 6 years ago, but didn't phone anybody because he was probably too scared to, didn't know what to do, didn't know where to turn. And don't be on your own. I have this wee phrase. I do a podcast. For anybody that's interested, this is going to divide your audience by me. I'm glad I'm at the end of this week when I'm mentioning this, because for a lot of people, because of the city that we live in, there's a lot of people going to go, oh, right, but it's surely with a name like Brian Anthony Costello you'd guess.
Oh, Chris, you're not going to start talking about the Celtic, are you?
I do a mental health podcast for a Celtic podcast, so we do a wee bit in the back. And if anybody is interested that's out there, you can find it. But we thought it was a great opportunity to speak to men about their mental health. But the wee phrase that we use at the end, sorry for any of the bears, this is probably going to turn you off, but I'm going to use it as an analogy. The phrase that I say at the end of the podcast all the time is, remember, you're never walking alone. And I know, but it is genuinely true, and you are not alone. I'm going to talk the walking out of it, but you are not alone. Yeah. You think you are. And especially as blokes, we are terrible for thinking that we're on it. Nobody will understand. Nobody will get it. And that's why I do that podcast, because it's an amazing opportunity to speak to blokes about mental health while hiding it under the facade of talking about football. And I'm hoping that, I've seen some of the other guests you've had on this. I'm hoping that because of some of the other guests you've had, and a lot of them being sporty and all that kind of stuff, that not just guys, all of your listeners, whatever, male, female, whatever, but that you listen to this and you've learnt something, and that you go away going, what if? When I do talks, I always say to folk that I'm not here to give you answers. I'm actually here in the hope that actually you go out of this room and you ask yourself more questions. And those questions might be as simple as, what if what that guy says is actually true? What if I am broken? What if I'm not alone? What if this can be sorted? What if, even though I feel the shittiest I've ever felt in my life, that actually, what if it doesn't have to be that way, and actually there is a way out of this? And for anybody listening to this, I don't care how dark it is, and I've worked with people who have been proper dark, but I genuinely mean that you're not broken, and it does not need to be like this. But what you need to do is you need to put your big boy or girl pants on, and you need to send an email, and it doesn't even have to be a long one. It can just be, I've been feeling a bit crap recently, I think I need help.
Yep.
And that's all it needs. And it'll be whatever that was, 10 words, might be the hardest 10 words you've ever typed in your life. But as soon as it's sent, now the process can start. I've been talking, I did a an Insta live a few weeks ago on one of my friends' Instas, and off the back of it, there was a wee lassie contacted, who's 16 years old, and I've been having a chat to her in at the back of Instagram just about her mental health, and she was like, I'm feeling like this and this. And it's now about 5 weeks later, we're still talking. I keep on trying to get her to go for it, because I can give her. I said, look, I'll help you, but if you don't want to work with a bloke, I can get one of the lassies in my team to help you for nothing. There's no charge. There's nothing like this. And the thing is now just getting her over that wee last hurdle of actually sitting face to face. Chat wise, brilliant. Managed to get her to some good places. I think that first message she sent was really difficult, but she opened up a process, and now it's just about getting her to a confident place where she goes, I can now sit like this and sit in front of someone and go, this is the stuff that's going on in my life. And I keep saying to her, I'm like, look, it does not have to be like this. And we're that close. So just send the email, send the text, make the phone call. There's people out there that can help, and it doesn't have to be, as we've said a few times, like, okay, let's cry for an hour, shall we, for the next 3 years? Let's meet up every week for the next 3 years and have a good greet while I sit there and go, okay, oh well, okay, well that's your time, well done. You did great today, honestly, that was fabulous. You're like, I don't know if I feel great, I feel like shit, I feel like crap. It doesn't have to be like that. You can go out like that, lassie, and go out with a smile on your face going, holy shit, I feel amazing. You know, it's like, that's what it should be all about.
Well, I think before we finish, Brian, I think we should get the shameless plug of the books out the road.
What books, Greg? If I get books, oh yeah, the books.
Published author.
Yeah, published author twice. So I've got 2 books. You can get them from Amazon as well. So the first one is called Breakthrough Blueprint for Your Mind. In case the video ever goes out there, it's there. It's got a wee blue cover on it. They're dead easy reads, by the way. There's a third one coming, but unfortunately, when your publisher is also a pharmacist, and a global pandemic is not the best time to try and get your book finished. But they're really easy wee books to read. They're like full of wee sort of stories, and actually Breakthrough, the first one. What I do is I start every chapter with a story about a genuine client, somebody I've genuinely worked with. The very first story, I'm sure it's the first story in it, which is called Big Fat Greasy Slob. Yeah, it's about a lassie. It's about a lassie that contacted me, and I remember being on the phone to her, and this is what the book's about. You know, she called me and she said, I'm just a big fat greasy slob, and she's like, I hate myself, and I'm so down on myself, and I'm like this, and I hate this, and I was working in Park Circus at that time, and I remember I arrived and my room door was open, as I worked in a room with other therapists and coaches, and the room door was open, and I went into my room. I tell this story in the book, and I went into the room, and sitting in the client's chair, if you like, was this stunningly pretty, kind of slim, big brown eyes. She looked like a Disney princess, right? Sitting in the thing, and I walked back out the room again, and I walked back out the room, and I waited, and then I went back in, and I went, sorry, are you so and so? And she was like, yeah, that's me. And it was like, what the fuck? And genuinely, she was from the islands. She said this, honestly, I've talked to her a few times since. I've stayed at kind of in a wee bit of touch. And she comes from the islands as well, so she's got this lovely kind of island accent. And I'm just looking at her when she's telling me that I'm just a big fat greasy slob, and I'm looking going, you're stunning looking. Like, I mean, her husband used to tell her all the time about how stunning she was. It's like, no, but I just think he's saying that because he loves me. But the reason I talk about that story is because it's a perfect example of how we see what we want to see. And to her, that was genuinely true. She wasn't bamming me up. She wasn't trying to just get me to tell her that she was all right. She was genuinely upset at the state of her and how she looked. And as she said, actually, which comes to a conversation we had earlier, the reason that she was so perfect and her hair was perfect because I have to go out with the perfect makeup on all the time because I don't want people to really see me and all this type of stuff. Anyway, the book basically starts with her story, and it's all about how you start to change that perception. How can you be in charge of your own mind? I actually started off at one point called The Instruction Book for the Mind, and then it became what it is. And the other book is called Cracking the Teen Code. So if anybody listening has teenagers or works with young people, a teacher, or you work in youth work, or maybe you just want to look back and go, oh, so that's why I was so fucked up when I was 16, right? Okay, I now understand. It's called Cracking the Teen Code, and it's all about teenage mindset. And it'll take you through, it's a book for parents, not a book for teenagers or teachers or anybody. It's a book for adults, I should probably say. But there's bits in it that you can definitely let your teenagers like read and maybe go like, read this wee bit because I think it'll mean something to you. Because actually a lot of the teen mental health problems are made worse because as parents we have no idea what to do, so we make them worse. So like you said about your mate, that's a classic thing that a parent would do. The child is down, so the parent goes, but you're amazing. Or the classic is you shout at them, like, why aren't you studying? I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. That kind of shit. And why sometimes, especially if you're angry when you're saying that, why that doesn't work. And actually thinking about the psychology of what's happening for your teenager. And not only that, which might intrigue some of your listeners, we had to get this book passed by a lawyer to make sure that I didn't get sued by Disney. Because at one point it works with Buzz Lightyear is a total arsehole. And it then goes off. So for a self-help book to start a chapter, I'm always very proud of that. The whole chapter's called To Infinity and Beyond. And it starts off with the fact that Buzz Lightyear is a total arsehole. But then I explain why and his story of redemption. But this is the thing is we can talk about mental health without being serious. And that's what both of the books are about. Both of the books are about, like, just understand. Back to our Chinese finger trap. Just understand. And once you understand, you go, right, okay. And now I get it. And then you can help yourself, help somebody you love, whatever it is that you want to do.
Brilliant, Brian. You've been a busy guy, mate. Busy guy.
Yeah. It's been a busy few years, man.
Right, okay, we'll call it a day there. But thanks very much for coming to talk to me, Brian.
I've really enjoyed it, mate. It's been brilliant.
Inspiring as usual.
I
know, mate. I know.
It's been lovely, mate. Lovely to speak to you again.
Likewise. I'm just going to sign off. Right, guys, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. See you later.